Okay, guys, so I'm gonna just talk about my labor and delivery story. So basically, I gave birth on August 18th, and for 5 days before that, I was getting Braxton Hicks pretty much every day, but none of them ever turned into labor. The 2 days before, I was doing a lot of walking because I was going to stores and getting like everything last minute that I wanted to get before the baby was here. And the day before, I got a pedicure. So I think the mix of walking and getting the pedicure, just getting those pressure points on my feet massaged, is maybe what put me into labor. But of course, my body was ready. I was exactly 39 weeks. So that morning of the 18th, I was already at a half centimeter dilated. So at like 2 in the morning, I was getting a lot of contractions. They were super painful. And I went in and they checked me, and I was at 2.5 centimeters. And I stayed there for 2 hours. I walked around. I was doing everything I could there to help speed things along. And because they won't admit you until you're 4. So they checked me 2 hours later. I did not dilate anymore, so they told me you have to go home, and when it becomes like 3 minutes apart, come back. So we head back home. I think we got home at like 6 in the morning. It was like barely when the sunlight was coming out, and they gave me a shot of morphine in my butt cheeks to help with the contractions pain. So I got home and they were like, okay, you should be put to sleep with this. If you wake up, like there's an issue. So I did not go to sleep. I was able to rest, and I was super uncomfortable with the contractions, but they were not as bad. So the whole day I was getting contractions, but they were like 10 minutes apart, and I was literally like doing everything I could to stay comfortable. I was in the bathtub like for a while just with the warm water. I was putting like heat on my back and just trying to be comfortable. And I called like 2 or 3 times. Like I was like, this pain is so unbearable. Like I was literally like moaning and groaning. And they were like, until they're 3 minutes apart, don't come in because it's your first baby. This is gonna take a while. We don't want you coming back and forth, because the hospital was in Modesto and I live in Tracy. So it was about like a 40-minute drive. So, it got to the point where my contractions were so bad. I was like screaming, I was crying, and they were only 6 minutes apart. And I said, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going in. Like, something's up. Like, I know my body. I know this baby's coming right now. I don't care that they're not 3 minutes apart. They're only 6 minutes apart. Like, I need to go. I called them and I said, hey, I'm coming back. They already had all my information there because they knew I was going to be coming back that day anyways. And they're like, okay, we'll see you when you get here. So I get there and I'm at 4 centimeters. Oh my gosh. They came in, they were like, do you want the epidural right now? And I was like, maybe let's wait 30 minutes and I'll get it, because I didn't want it to slow down. I wanted to see like if I would just be okay with the IV that they gave me. They gave me an IV just to kind of relax me. I'm not even sure what was in the IV. Like this whole thing was like such like a blur now that I think about it. So right after like they left, like my contractions got like so much worse, and I was like literally like, where's the nurse? Tell them they need to come in here, give me the epidural right now. Like I cannot do this. I was crying so bad. Like the contractions, like I swear to God, like there has not been anything more painful that I have ever felt than these contractions. And twice I went to the hospital, like once on July 4th and then another time about like a week and a half before I actually like went in to deliver, because my Braxton Hicks were so bad. So this is something that I've been like experiencing like throughout my whole pregnancy, but when it's actually labor, you will know, because it's not just like, oh, it's like, it's really bad, like this baby's coming. So the guy finally comes in with the epidural. He's like, okay, let me explain it to you. I was like, I already did my research. I did so much research about it. Just give it to me right now. I can't do this. He's like, okay. I swear I just relaxed myself so much because I just wanted him to put it in as fast as he could So I was breathing through the contractions, not moving a muscle when they were inserting in your back, because I didn't want him to have to redo it, because I was like, I need this right now. So the epidural went pretty smoothly. So after I got the epidural, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so good. Like, I could kind of just feel like pressure every few minutes, but I was good. So I fell asleep. I fell asleep for 5 hours. I woke up and I was like, whoa, like I feel like a lot of pressure down there. The nurse checked me. She was like, oh my gosh, you're at 10 centimeters. And I was like, wow, that's really fast. Like I fell asleep for 5 hours. I was at 4 and I went to 10. And I did not have to get any Pitocin. I didn't need to be induced. I didn't need anything else. I just had the epidural. And I thought epidurals slow things down. So I was super surprised, but they told me, they're like, hey, you can't start pushing yet because his head isn't down enough, but I was open enough. So after 30 minutes, I was like, I need to push. Like, it's like a uncontrollable feeling that you need to just push. So I did like a couple practice pushes, and then they ended up moving me to an actual labor and delivery room because they were so full that night. I was stuck in a triage room until a room opened, and thank God one finally did in time, because I thought I was about to give birth in this small ass room at Kaiser, but I didn't. But I was already at 10 centimeters when I was still in that room. So they moved me to another room, and my legs, I swear to God, it was like from the middle of my stomach down was nothing. Like my legs were so dead. Even like all the nurses were like talking to each other. They're like, yeah, her legs are like really dead. And I think that's part of the reason I ended up pushing for 3 hours. Oh my God. That was like the hardest thing. Like, I don't know what was worse, like the contractions or just pushing, because I was pushing for so long and I felt like my body was gonna give up, and it was like really hard. So I pushed for 3 hours. It was like his head was like literally like going back and forth in my pelvic bone, and I felt like it was because the epidural hit me so strong, like I wasn't able to push. So like towards the end, they lessened the dosage of the epidural, and I was finally able to push him out. And he was born at 9:36, and they put him on my chest, and I was just like so in love. Like he was just like looking around. He was so alert. He was looking straight at me. He just looked so perfect. Like so perfect. Like they were stitching me up because I did tear just a little bit, a first degree tear, nothing too bad, too crazy, because they were kind of like trying to stretch out. Even though I was already at 10, they were like trying to stretch me out even past that just to get him to come out. And he stayed on my chest for like an hour, and he was just like looking around. Like he was so perfect, like so perfect. Like I was just like so, like nothing else in that room like even mattered. I was not paying attention to it. They were like taking my placenta out, pushing on my body, like doing all this stuff to me, and I can't even remember that because I was just so in love with him. He weighed 6 pounds 6 ounces, and he was 19 inches long, and that was the first day of my life. I feel like my life was nothing before he came. He's sleeping right here. I'll show you guys him in a minute, but yep. So that was really crazy day, but it's all worth it completely. And when you finally have your baby there, it's like everything else is just a blur. Like yeah, at the time I was like, I'm never having a baby again, like one is enough, I'll be fine, I'll be content, you know. But you know, I would totally do it all over again, because you honestly, you just forget about everything once you have your baby with you. Like you forget about everything. Like I had a super tough pregnancy. I guess I can make another video about my pregnancy experience, like all 40 weeks, because I had a really hard pregnancy. Anyone that knows me personally knows like how crazy it was and all the different things all the different symptoms I was experiencing. But he's literally like such a good baby. Such a good baby. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching. And I'm gonna just insert a little clip of him right now at the end of this. Bye, guys. Hi, Bubba's 6 days old today.